Now, the Italian government is taking the radical step of inviting private companies to become sponsors of one of Italy's most iconic buildings, the Colosseum. The government says it can't afford badly needed repairs and updated facilities on its own, but some critics fear the building could be covered in advertising hoardings and say this is yet another example of a clash between culture and commercialism. From Rome, Duncan Kenny.
It's the building that needs no introduction, the structure that is Italy. But at nearly 2,000 years old, this ancient gladiatorial showground is now facing a battle against decay.
Take these glorious outer walls, for example. Years of traffic pollution have left them absolutely filthy and in need of a total clean-up. Then there are many other projects inside the building that also need doing. The trouble is, the government simply doesn't have the money to do it, so it's come up with a very different solution.
That solution is the controversial one of sponsorship. Private companies are being invited to come up with at least $25 million for restoration work in return for being allowed to use the Colosseum for advertising.
We need help, of course. We need a sponsor. We need people that can help us out. And there's a lot of, positive attitude toward this to help us out to keep this tremendous number of assets that we have.
Ad agencies told us potential sponsors will be lining up to get access to this iconic building. We asked Saatchi and Saatchi for ideas. They came up with this ad for an imaginary electricity company.
It's the biggest opportunity ever, I think, but it's also a big responsibility because you have in your hand one of the more powerful icons in the world.
But advertising on other classical buildings in Italy hasn't always been so subtle, with sponsors wanting maximum exposure for their products in return for their money. It's that which has some worried the Colosseum might become one giant advertising hoarding.
Sometimes I walk through parts of the city and I feel like this is starting to look like Times Square. I don't want to see the great, beautiful cultural heritage center of Rome looking like a big billboard. So if they do the Colosseum right, that's the big risk. They have to do it right. Then that could potentially open up the floodgates for more sponsorship all throughout Italy.
The Italian government is already running these ads to promote the Colosseum, telling people to use it or lose it. What the government doesn't have is the money to make it an even greater world-class centre. For that, they're calling on the private sector. And that means blurring the lines between culture and commercialism, between advertising and antiquity. Duncan Kennedy, BBC News in Rome.
Let me remind you of our exclusive breaking news from the